Okay, and to give you an idea, Stephen Gear is a vice president for new media for an organization called ONP, and Michael Turk is a partner for an organization called Craft Media Digital. Gentlemen, would you open up by giving me a little bit of a presentation so our audience understands each of your parts in this play around politics?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, we actually represent political, corporate, nonprofit clients who want to do communications both online and off. So we do web design, development, radio and television production, direct mail, etc., with an eye toward the idea that all of these media should be looked at in total. And so rather than having what campaigns normally do with a TV guy and a direct mail guy and a web guy come to us and say, you know, here's the audience we're trying to reach. How is the best way to reach them? What are the media they're consuming, and how do we target our resources effectively?
Great. Thank you, Michael. Stephen?
And I would say I do very similar things, but the primary difference is that I do that for sort of progressive Democratic clients, and Michael does Republican conservative clients.
Correct.
Okay, well, this is going to be one of those odd engagements where the Republicans get along with the Democrats, right?
Not as odd in our world, but yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's good to hear. Okay, my question again, because my company has followed this for so long and I'm really passionate about it. I think Jerry Kent said something today about how the optimists are the ones who are always looking at the future, and I try and be optimistic. Can we look a little bit about trends? Stephen, short answers. Talk a little bit about trends, because as you know, we have a few more questions to talk to.
Oh, is my mic not working properly?
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Test the mic, make sure it works.
Can you hear me?
Great, much
Okay,
better.
great. Yeah, that works a little better. So just short answer on trends. There's two things I would say.
Put it right in.
Is it right here? All right, perfect. So two things I would say. One is, you know, really since the Obama campaign, 2008, the professionalization of social media in the political sphere, pretty much, not only is everyone doing it, but there's a whole generation of political professionals who are doing social media in a way that, you know, 4 years ago, 6 years ago didn't exist. So that is a major trend. In the world where I sort of have spent most of my time, which is political fundraising online, a trend that's absolutely worth watching is the sort of rapid response fundraising stuff. So in 2007, when I started with Obama, you know, Twitter almost didn't exist. It was tiny and played a relatively small role in the 2008 campaign cycle. Now we're going to see a national presidential debate with Twitter playing a huge role, and the possibility for doing sort of instantaneous fundraising based on a particular remark, you know, rather than waiting an hour after the debate for the fundraising email to come, you know, into your inbox. You can get a tweet from the presidential campaign that makes a counterpoint and asks for a donation. And I think it'll be, you know, that will be an interesting thing to watch. I mean, a lot of the core, you know, social media trends will continue to you know, grow and mature, but that will be a potential spike that I think we'll see.
So it's fair to say that these days in the political realm, especially at the presidential level, the ability to communicate socially through the social media is not only something you want to have, but it's a must.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, you know, you can go back historically and look at sort of, you know, Kennedy-Nixon era. You know, Kennedy embraced television early, and it paid enormous benefits. And I think the same is true with Obama in 2008 and embracing new media early.
Great. Michael, same question. Trends.
I mean, I'm going to go with the cliche answer and simply say mobile. Everything is about reaching the voter wherever the voter happens to be, whether that's in their car listening to the radio, whether that's, you know, when they're browsing the internet via their phone, whether that's when they're at home in front of the TV. And so being able to reach the voter at any point in there. The one sort of thing I would say is sort of different in terms of your question about optimism, and that always looking forward. The one challenge that you have with politics is that I would actually say it's not the optimists that always look forward. I would say it's the insurgents. It's the people who are always looking against, you know, at what the incumbents are doing. They're much more willing to take risk. And Steve and I have discussed this to some extent. They're going to be much more risky, and incumbents are generally sort of much more, you know, sort of averse to really stepping out there. The challenge that you're going to have in 2012, which makes it interesting to see, is the fact that you've got sort of the Republicans and the Democrats both playing insurgent and both playing incumbent.
Can you explain that?
Because the Democrats obviously have the House, or have the Senate and have the White House, and the Republicans have the House and have a lot of governorship governorships, and so as a result, they're both sort of playing defense in some way, and they're both playing offense in some way. And so as a result, it'll be interesting to see which party, as a whole, can sort of better balance the needs to protect their incumbents while also making gains.
So President Barack Obama will do a different social media game in 2012 as opposed to 2008.
Yeah, I expect it to look a lot different.
Can you give us a couple of examples, both of you? Short answers.
I mean, I think that the biggest challenge that they're going to have on the Republican side is sort of harnessing the Tea Party and making gains while at the same time trying to control some of the more outlandish behavior that you get in some of those factions.
Right.
The Tea Party's kind of a whole weird tribe, and so the challenge for the Republicans, for instance, is going to be how do we really sort of protect our incumbents and harness the power of the Tea Party while not letting the Tea Party become a drag on the ticket.
Stephen, same question?
Yeah, I'll make a simple, sort of social media point about what's going to be different this time around, which is in terms of earned media, sort of the press paying attention to what the Obama campaign was doing in 2008. Every time, because we were essentially an insurgent candidacy, and Hillary Clinton, and then, the Republican side was, the establishment. Every time we did something new or innovative, it was a positive press message for us. It was always, cutting edge and interesting and great. And the reward far outweighed the risk. This time around, doing something new that may or may not work is, it's a sitting president. It's a very different equation in terms of risk.
And that leads perfectly into what I think will probably be my final question. We saw recently with a congressman from Brooklyn that with social media comes some responsibility. And now we're in this rather sad affair where we're trying to sort through that. But aren't there some lessons from that situation that one has to remember when they're dealing with social media, especially in politics?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fundamentally, the benefits of social media are the sort of very personal nature of those types of communications. It's also the risk, right? The more personal and the more you take it for granted that it's a private communication, the more risk you open yourself up to. I highly doubt we'll see that on any of the sort of institutional side, certainly not from the Obama campaign. I mean, there's a very professional operation in place, but I think that there's going to be a lot of people who are learning that lesson the hard way, down the ballot in these races. A lot of folks who are coming sort of new to the social media world who are going to make the mistakes that you make when you try something for the first time.
Yeah, I think whether it's Weiner or whether it's Spitzer or whether it's any of these people, you have to understand that the internet is a platform for sharing. It's not a platform for secrets. And so you saw things, for instance, like one of Sarah Palin's staffers about a week before the Weiner incident erupted. She had actually had a lot of conversations via direct message on Twitter with some people, and those got disclosed, and it was very embarrassing because she had said some things about the Palin family, and so there's this tendency that we have to think that we're speaking one-on-one, but we're using a platform that's really not meant for that. It's meant for dispersing things to a wider audience, and you've got to be careful with that.
If you were to look, short answer, we've got a couple minutes to wrap this segment, at the longer term, or at least the middle term of the future of social media, is there something out there, the next Twitter, the next social media device or application that you can predict, that you can see for the election in 2016 or 2020?
One of the things, speaking to the mobile side and to his point about fundraising, is the tools like Square and some of these other mobile payment processing, where literally any supporter can become a fundraiser for the campaign as well, where you can actually take payments from people as the candidate's moving through a crowd to take money. I think that those are going to be sort of huge developments as mobile processing gets further along.
Right.
I think that mobile content and the people we saw in like 2008 with the Vote Different ad that Phil DeVellis had put together, who had worked for the Barack Obama campaign but did it on his own, became this huge thing. It was one of the most remembered ads from 2008, but it wasn't created by any of the campaigns. It was just some guy working in his living room, and I think that'll become a lot more of the model. Stephen Gear.
Yeah, I'll add to that and say I think that something you'll see this cycle, but even more the next couple of presidential cycles, is the idea of sort of the field army that you need, the people going out and knocking on doors and talking to their neighbors and doing all the things that a traditional political field program does. Doing that using mobile devices is going to be huge. And, we demonstrated the last presidential cycle that you can raise the majority of your money through small dollar online donations. Now the question is, can you motivate and mobilize most of your supporters online, and can you make it as easy as possible for someone to not have to go to a campaign office and get a walk sheet and do all that, but just literally, walk next door and use a mobile device and, talk to somebody about who they should vote for?
Okay, I'm going to put you both on the spot for a final question. Political question. I hope it doesn't embarrass you. I don't think it will. We had a Republican debate last night. 8 gentlemen, 1 lady stood up and made their pitch. If you had to predict now who's going to be the Republican that will run against Barack Obama in the next year, who will that be? Stephen?
I'd guess Tim Pawlenty. Yeah.
And can you give me a quick reason why?
The quick reason why is that there's a lot of crazy people in the field, and he's sort of everybody's second choice.
All right. Michael?
It's a tough call. I'd say it's either Romney or Pawlenty.
Okay, and why?
Primarily because I think that either of them have a fairly high floor of support. They're not going to be winning the primaries outright. This is going to be a long haul, and it's going to go to whoever can get 20 to 25% in every state.
Okay, and this begs the question, who's going to win the 2012 election? I'm not going to ask it because I know what you're going to answer. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please give a hand to these gentlemen?